good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. You're at Fresh Black Coffee. I'm Eddie Huff, Dave Van Risgum, and we're glad to be with you. It's a very eventful week that we've had, and as I understand, we are supporting Israel attacking Iran today. That is going on, so we'll try to maybe drop that in a little later. But before we do that, we want to have a special guest with us today. Many of you grew up with and know about Route 66. In fact, it was one of the top TV programs when Dave and I were little kids. In fact, you may not even have been born when Route 66 was a popular program.
Getting our kicks.
Yeah, getting our kicks on Route 66. That was an ad, but there was actually a program, TV program called Route 60. Oh no, I don't want you on yet. No, I have his mic off for a reason. No, I'm sorry. We're having fun. Hey,
that's how he wins debates.
Yeah, that's how I do. I just shut him up.
No, Nat King Cole had a jingle on that. Getting our kicks.
Oh no, I know, but I'm talking about the TV show.
Yes.
There was a popular television show called Route 66, and it was real popular for quite a while, several years when I was a little tyke. And I'm sure, Gary, you remember Route 66, yeah. In any event, those of us that are living in Tulsa have for several years now been talking about the revitalization of Route 66 and everything that's going on the route. I remember when I was a little boy, we would drive up to Philadelphia and back, and we would drive along Route 66. And one of my big fond memories was the Sinclair gas stations, and Sinclair with their dinosaur, and they were giving away these blow up dinosaurs, and I always wanted a dinosaur. My parents never gave me a dinosaur, and I'm permanently scarred. I'm still pining over the fact that I never got that dinosaur. Just a little confession to make to you. In any event, we do sincerely want to thank and welcome our guest, Gary Sparks, who is organizing. It's called the National Route 66 Golf Trail. And it's a very intriguing idea, and I don't want to go into too much detail, Gary, but as I understand it, Dave understands it, what you're setting up is it's like a tournament, correct? Where people can play and they get points for each hole or each course they play, and then it adds up towards the end. Now, let me ask you this. First of all, where does it start and where does it end?
So it starts in Chicago and it ends in Santa Monica. So it's a 2,448-mile golf trail across 8 states. It's the longest golf trail in the world. And we'll launch it in April the 30th.
This April. Oh, wow. And how many courses are there?
There'll be 66.
Oh, so
selected courses. That was a tough job, yeah, I'm sure.
We've got 66 that we're recommending, and I can tell you there's 13 in Illinois, there's 8 in Missouri, 1 in Kansas, Baxter Springs.
Oh,
yeah, it just barely goes through Kansas. And we've got 14 in Oklahoma.
Oh,
Oklahoma has the most drivable miles of any of the 8 states.
Yeah.
And then we have 8 in New Mexico, 2, we got 2 in Texas.
Yeah.
10 in New Mexico, 8 in Arizona, and we have 10 in California.
I'll bet that Arizona segment, they'll bring a lot of people. If there's only 8, but a lot of folks go to Arizona in their retirement.
Yeah. So it's not so much a tournament as it is an opportunity for people to say, we played the Route 66 golf trail, and you can play as many as you want to. The goal, obviously, would be to try to play all 66. Mm-hmm. But that's not very many people are going to be able to play all 66, but that's a challenge that's out there.
So there's the option, let's say, for folks who grew up around here, say, I'll do the Oklahoma leg.
Yep.
And they sign up with you guys on what website?
It's Sticks on 66.
I'm there now.
Sticks
Beautiful website.
Now, and it's in progress. We're going to embellish that, and the actual full website will be launched towards the end of March.
Now, as far as Tulsa, which courses in Tulsa is it just one in Tulsa, or several of them?
No, we've got in Tulsa, in Oklahoma.
Okay,
we'll do that. We got La Fortune, Rock Creek, and Sapulpa.
Mm-hmm.
We've got Shangri-La. We've got Cherokee Hills.
Well, Shangri-La is a beautiful one,
yeah,
isn't it?
It's a really nice course.
That's a gorgeous area.
Yeah.
You're right on the lake.
Yes. Yeah. It's right on Grand Lake.
Yeah.
It's not that far off Route 66. One of the things is we don't have any private courses or any par 3 courses.
Yeah, I'm just saying, even I've golfed 2 of those, the La Fortune in Sand Springs.
Yeah. So we got canyons at Blackjack Ridge in Sand Springs, Battle Creek, Buffalo Rock and Cushing, Prairie West and Weatherford, Elk City Golf Club. That's the last one in Oklahoma. It's way out west, right before you go into Texas.
You just mentioned 4 in the Tulsa metro area, didn't you?
Yeah. Yep.
The Battle Creek's in Broken Arrow, right?
Yeah, that's metro. Yeah. Sand Springs metro, and we'll claim Sapulpa.
Yeah.
Not always, but you know.
The area.
Purposes, yeah. So metropolitan-wise, we've probably got 5 or 6.
And do you have dates on those? Because I'm sure you stack them near each other on the calendar, right? The close ones.
Dates for?
Yeah, those Tulsa area dates, what are they around each other? Or,
oh, yeah.
Or a person can take off?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you come to Tulsa and stay a couple of days, 2 or 3 days, you could play all the Tulsa area courses.
Right. So, just to clarify, so we're not having specific dates to play.
No.
So it's any time. Right.
No.
That's right.
Nice.
This is, we're celebrating the Centennial of Route 66, 100-year Centennial. And at the same time, we're launching this. It'll go on forever. I mean, it's not just 1 year. It's a continuous trail that'll be around 15, 20, 100 years from now.
Right. So let's back up a little bit here, and we can come back to more details on the tournament. But I'd like some of your background. We had spoken a little bit earlier that you started out in, a big part of it is you're a graduate in architecture from OSU, Oklahoma State. But even prior, because to me, hearing your story and Daniel, who's here with you, it's kind of inspirational. In other words, you weren't born with, as they say, a silver spoon in your mouth.
Not hardly.
Right, exactly. And you went to 39 schools, did you say?
I moved 39 times and went to over 20 schools.
Over 20 schools. And I thought I went to a lot. I went to 7 myself, 4 high schools, and I thought I was a bit 20.
I go to 4 schools in 1 year.
Yeah. I mean, that's just.
Well, you were a military brat. In your case, what was it?
My dad was in construction.
Okay. Yeah.
And he, it's a long story. I won't get into all the details, but for several reasons, we moved a lot.
Sure.
And so he would come in and he'd say, pack up, put everything we've got in the station wagon, and we'd head out to places unknown looking for another job.
Yep.
And you ended up at Oklahoma State is where you went to school.
Right.
What caused you to go to, how old were you when you entered OSU?
Well, I graduated from high school in 1959.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what I was going to do, didn't have a career path. So I decided I'd just go to Atlanta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. And I'd never been to Atlanta, but I thought it'd be a neat place to go. So I'm out of high school. I go to Atlanta, can't find a job. I get a job as a janitor. And I'm working there. My folks, we had never lived west of the Mississippi River. So I get a letter from them, and they say, well, we've moved to Sand Springs, Oklahoma. And I'm thinking, what in the world are they doing in Sand Springs, Oklahoma? Well, he came out here to work on Keystone Dam. And he said, if you want to come out this summer, I can get you a construction job on the dam. So I thought, well, I don't have anything better to do. So I got a one-way Greyhound bus ticket to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And when they picked me up at the bus station, about the first thing he said was, well, that job I thought I had for you, somebody else took that job. So I'm here in Sand Springs. I don't have a job. And I run into a couple of guys that are hauling hay, and they needed a third person. So I said, well, I can help you with that. So it was a 3-man crew. We were making 6 cents a bale, putting it on the truck, take it to the barn, stack it in the barn, and we're getting 2 cents a piece.
Oh my!
That's not very much money. But the good news is both those guys were going to Oklahoma State. And one of them happened to be studying architecture. So he introduced me to architecture. And when I saw that, what he was doing and the projects that they were working on, it really inspired me. It's the first time I ever got excited about anything really academic. And I said, that's what I want to do. I want to learn how to do that. And he said, ask him, where do you go to school? And he said, I'm going to Oklahoma State. I had no idea where Oklahoma State was. But I went down and enrolled on probation because my test.
It's clipping him a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm trying to think.
Probably have to lean forward a little bit more and kick the volume up. So there you go.
Do it.
So anyway, make a long story short, I got enrolled on probation, and I struggled. I breezed through a 5-year program in 6 years. And some of the courses I liked so well, I took them twice. And but I got my degree, and then I got married to a wonderful lady. We finished up college there at OSU, went to Atlanta to get a job, and enrolled at Georgia Tech, did a master's degree. But 3 months later, I got my draft notice. Vietnam was going on. And wound up in the Army for a couple of years.
Wow, what a story! So you went to Georgia Tech?
Yeah, okay. Shortly. I really wanted to get a master's, and but the draft notice cut that short.
Right. So you were in the engineering program there, and
architectural.
Yeah, architecture, engineering, and see, as a reminder to people back in those days, I mean, I guess you didn't get a college deferment then.
I didn't. Some people could, but I had been in school for so long.
Oh,
they wouldn't give me a deferment.
Oh, I see. I didn't realize that it had a time limit on the deferment. Yeah, I was looking at that, and then they ended it with the lottery. My year, my freshman year, 1969, they came up with a lottery, and my number came up just ahead of women and children, as I like to say. I was like 316 or something, so that's kind of fun. But Gary, the reason I want to hear that is just to give people, especially, play this for your children, okay? Because so many of us are in the mindset today that we have to go to college right after high school. And that if you don't go to college, you're less than for some reason. Somehow we're less than the guy who went high school. And although probably 80% in today's system, 80% of those students are there to party.
Yeah.
Present company included. That's why that was what I was. It's funny, after I graduated and got my first job, I had to learn all the things that I should have learned for 4 years in college, and regretted that I didn't pay attention more. But the good news is that, many of us grow up at some point, some a little later than others. Yeah. But yours is really inspirational to think of where you began and what you went through and still accomplished. Now, let's get to the aspect of you got out of the Army, and so what was next? What happened next?
Well, we came back to Tulsa. You need to work for an architectural firm 3 years before you take the architectural test to get your license. So that's kind of an intern thing. So I spent 3 years working for architectural firms. I got my license to practice architecture, and in 1978 started a company. And that company, we went through 2 or 3 different gyrations, but in 86, I actually went out on my own and started my own company without any partners or anything. And that was a struggle because in the 80s were pretty tough years.
The 86 especially.
Yeah, was really not the best time in Oklahoma to start an architectural firm.
Oh, no.
A lot of architects were leaving the state. And if my wife hadn't had a daycare home, we probably couldn't have made it because taking care of 6 little kids in our home and me working at the kitchen table with these 6 little kids running around was how we survived.
Sure. Just another little thing to throw into there. 6 kids on top of trying to build a business.
And so, but in 86, things were really tough. The 90s got a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And then I came up with this crazy idea. OSU was thinking about building a new arena with the city. And I just thought, that's a horrible idea. We've got a great arena. It's just too small and it's outdated. What we really need to do is expand it and modernize it.
The IBA?
Yeah.
So you did the expansion on that?
Yeah. So I came up with this idea to let's just expand the arena and modernize it, keep the good parts, but build on what we've got with all the tradition. The original floor is still there. 1938 maple floor is still there. So anyway, that's another whole story of how that came about.
Oh, I got a comment on that. I've heard sports prognosticators and X-rays games say the IBA Arena is one of the most intimidating places to come to and play. It still had that feel, and the way the stands come up behind it's just almost oppressive to be the opposing team.
Well, part of that's because the rake of the lower seating bowl, the original seating bowl, is pretty steep.
Yes.
And to build on top of that, you've got to continue that same rake. Because if you lower it, the sight lines they're all messed up.
Right.
So we didn't have any choice but to keep going at the same angle that.
Yeah, but coaches say that was magic what you did.
Well, it's very intimidating. Daniel and I were at the wrestling match against Iowa last weekend, I think it was, and the thing was a sellout. It was packed.
Yeah.
The atmosphere is just, when that thing is full, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's really pretty special.
Wow.
So you got the contract to do the architectural aspect of the IBA. Yep. I guess it wasn't called the IBA Arena back then. Gallagher IBA, yeah. But was it called that even back?
Originally, it was Gallagher Hall.
Okay, okay.
And Henry IBA died in the 90s, didn't he?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was.
And so then that was your one project. So you did that one, and then I think there was another one you were telling me earlier.
Well, yeah. After that, they really wanted to fix the football stadium first, but we had just in '95. The basketball team had been to the Final Four in Seattle, so Coach Sutton was there.
Yeah,
and there's a lot of excitement, enthusiasm. There was a waiting list to get basketball tickets. So the AD at the time knew that he probably should start with the basketball arena because that could get the funding. And then the next project would be the football stadium. So as soon as we finished the arena, they selected me to do the football stadium, Boone Pickens Stadium. So we went right into that as soon as we finished the arena.
Wow. Now, and didn't you also have a part in Keystone Dam?
Well, I thought I did, but when I got here, the job that I had was somebody else had gotten that job.
I see. Okay. Okay. All right. And what else? Any other projects that we would know of?
Well, most people are familiar with Asbury Church.
Oh, yeah. The new one.
Yeah.
On Mingo. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With a classic architecture.
Yeah. And that was one of our projects. The other one that 2 or 3 around here people might know about is UMAC, Union's Arena.
That's right, the UMAC.
There's a bank at 15th and Utica.
He helped with the fundraising for that.
I know, he told me that. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Now, back to OSU, you had a sugar daddy helping you guys fund that, right? T. Boone Pickens.
We did it in 3 phases.
Yeah.
And he kicked in the 3rd phase, which was the big phase.
Yeah.
And he contributed $165 million.
Oh, wow. Nice. How much of that did you get? No, just kidding.
I heard
we don't want to know.
I do remember a bricklayer who got a pink slip.
Yeah.
For what was he doing?
Well, he put these OU. He put OU in the side of the.
He saved certain bricks that would stand out in contrast and had the OU
put a
symbol.
pattern in there. He just, the problem was he didn't know how to spell OSU. So he left the S out.
Oh,
Wasn't a very smart bricklayer.
No, apparently not. That is good. That's good. So, Gary, let's get back to your Reasons to Drive project on the golf tour on Route 66. So, going back to that, then, so what people can do is sign up either from the West Coast going east or east going west, correct?
Well, what's interesting about but what's interesting about this, when you do the data, do some research on this, out of the 3+ million people that'll be driving some or all of Route 66 this year, 170,000 of those play golf.
Oh.
And out of that 170,000, about half of them are international. So we've got people coming from Asia and Europe and Australia this year to drive Route 66, and they're going to bring their clubs, or they're going to be renting clubs and playing this trail.
Can you, I don't know if you've thought about this, or maybe you have, do you have like special hotel deals for people playing this?
Yeah, we'll have on our website, we'll be able to not only promote the golf trail, but we'll be promoting attractions along the golf trail. So when you go to Weatherford, if there's something there that's significant about Route 66, it'll be on our website.
It's Sticks, STICKS on 66.
Yes.com.
And you're kicking it off this summer.
April 30th.
April 30th.
At La Fortune Park.
At La Fortune. That's
going to be the kickoff.
You know what I'd like to see? Now, this is just me brainstorming it. I know a lot of guys that have classic cars in local clubs, but I'd love to see some classic car shows, say at the La Fortune parking lot. They got plenty of parking.
Yeah, that'd be great for April 30th. We'd love it.
Yeah. Or just whenever they can do it, and tell folks, come on in, enjoy the show, and play 18 rounds.
Sure.
Absolutely. Have you gotten support from the governor, the mayor, our representatives?
We haven't reached out to all those people. The people that we have reached out to are Lieutenant Governor Fennell.
Oh, man, yeah.
And he's 100% behind it.
It's his passion.
Yeah.
And, he's a promoter.
Representative Hearn,
Kevin
is supportive of this. We've talked to him. He loves the idea. Kelly Dunkery with the county is really behind it. And those are the only three political people that we've really approached.
Have you approached, or you haven't approached the governor or the Congress people? Okay.
We don't have, we don't have those kind of connections. We're just plain ordinary. You're the guys with all those political connections. We're just ordinary people.
But you picked the right guy. Matt Pinnell is the promoter in chief. He really is.
We're going to send out invites to our launch on April 30th, and the people at the county, and Ken Busby, who's also part of this deal, is Mr. Route 66. And he'll be helping us reach out to some of the people you're talking about, because he has those connections, and that's why he's part of this team.
Getting kind of close, though. You know,
I know. We're next week's a big week for us, because we're going to be doing a lot of stuff next week.
Right.
And our actual website will launch towards the end of March. This is kind of a landing site. Doesn't have a whole lot of information right now. It does have a fun little video clip that people can click on and look at.
And I'm hoping, if not you guys, at least the participants can start a Facebook group and chat it up, you know, make arrangements, plan details.
When Daniel talks to you, he's our IT YouTuber guru.
Yeah.
That's above my pay grade.
Because it's the social gatherings that mean something, the guys you hang out in the clubhouse with afterwards and talk about, okay, where's the next course you guys are going? Maybe, and get your calendar schedules out. And I'd love to see the classic cars be part of it, in whatever way they can.
Yeah.
Because, you're a little ahead of the baby boomer generation, just a little bit, right?
A little bit.
And see where he is. But a lot of the character and culture of Route 66, especially during the Vietnam War and the protest era and the hot rods.
Yeah.
And the muscle cars and stuff. And it just harkens back to a time that the younger kids really need to pay attention to, because it'll give them a history lesson on our culture.
Well, and I think we've got two audiences here in the way I think about it. Daniel, I've had some discussions about this, but there's the under 60 group and the over 60 group that we're looking at. Two separate audiences. I don't know if that's the exact age bracket to break that at.
It's close.
But, the over 60 crowd there, we're into the kind of stuff you're talking about. The under 60, maybe not so much. But they need to get introduced to that.
Right.
They need to learn about it from us. So this is a good way to educate them on what this thing was going on prior to.
So if people are interested in participating, where do they? What is the website address?
Sticks on 66.
Sticks, STICKS
on 66.
Yep, common spelling. Yeah, because imagine, if you would, a world with the interstate just disappears off the map. That's what we had in the area you're talking about.
And this is the longest golf trail in the world.
Yeah.
There's no golf trail. Several states have golf trails, but this is 8 states.
Yeah. But Route 66 was so prominent that when Eisenhower's interstate system came in, he said, you know what, we're going to have a number 44 that's going to follow that. Yeah. All the way. And then it just joined with 40, I guess, at El Reno, I think. Yeah.
It's funny because I remember, like, as I said, I was probably 10 years old, and I was driving from Philadelphia to New Mexico, and we were going along Route 66, and we actually saw them building the interstate.
Oh, wow.
They were advertising the interstate, and I remember seeing it over there. I didn't really understand what an interstate was, what the difference was,
Yeah.
Well, the beauty of the Route 66 golf trail, it takes you through a lot of small towns, and it's a huge economic development and a tourism attraction besides just golf. So it's going to bring back, for people like us, memories of those going through those little towns. And because a lot of our golf courses are in those little towns.
Yeah.
Gary, let me ask you. So we probably should have started with this, but what inspired you to do this, to take this on? What is the thing that...
That's an interesting story. So Daniel's son, one of his sons, Paxton, one of my grandsons. I have 3 daughters, and we've got 12 grandkids. And so one of those grandsons, Paxton, lives here in Jinx. He was in Jinx, and he played on the Jinx golf team. And he had a tournament out at Rock Creek in Sapulpa. And I went to almost all of his golf tournaments. And at this particular golf tournament, one of the guys in his foursome hits a ball, slices it way over by the highway. So all the parents and grandparents over there looking for this kid's ball. And somebody finds it. And while they're saying, getting ready, all that kind of stuff, I'm looking over there and I'm thinking, this is on Route 66. This golf trail is sitting right here on Route 66. Yeah. It's kind of cool. And I got to thinking, I wonder how many other courses are on Route 66 in Oklahoma. Because I had played the Robert Trent Jones Trail in Alabama. And I thought, it'd be kind of cool if we had a Route 66 golf trail, Oklahoma Route 66 golf trail. And so I went back and I started doing research, and I started putting this all together. I was talking to Paxton last night. He's in Washington on a job assignment with Boeing, but we were talking about this, and he said, well, Papa, I think that must have been 8 or 9 years ago. And I'm thinking, yeah, you're right. I was thinking maybe 6 years, but he said, no, it was probably 8 or 9 years ago. So anyway, I'm thinking we need this Oklahoma Route 66 golf trail. And I can't get anybody interested in it. And somebody said, well, you need to go talk to this Ken Busby guy. So I did, and he lit up. He said, this is a great idea. And he said, you got to go see Pinnell.
Yeah.
So I went to Matt Pinnell, and he said, I love the idea. You need to make this happen. So I could never get any traction. I just couldn't get it launched. And I messed around. And then finally one day I'm sitting there thinking, and it's like a God thought came to me and said, well, you're thinking too small. This trail needs to start in Chicago. It needs to go all the way to Santa Monica. It's not an Oklahoma golf trail. It's a Route 66 golf trail that travels through 8 states. It has 66 courses. And I thought, yeah, now that's a golf trail. Now you're talking about a real golf trail. And so that started building a little bit more momentum. And then about a year ago, connecting it in with the Centennial of Route 66, it really began to take off. And their U.S. Congress created a commission. It's called the Route 66 Centennial Commission. And their job, there's representatives from all 8 states. Their job is to promote Route 66, the Centennial celebration. And if you have a project or an event that you want them to promote, you submit that and they review it. And if they like it, then you're part of that Route 66 Centennial Commission. So we're on that. We got accepted.
I saw that. I went in the AI, summary, showed that national centennial thing, and they showed in events, and the first thing popped up was your links.
There you go.
Your sticks on 66. So yeah, they love what you're doing. I want to get back to that story out there at Sand Springs, because that's part of a church men's golf thing. Sapulpa, I'm sorry. And first tee, sure enough, I sliced it. Same thing. And there's the State Highway 66.
Yeah.
But then just to the north of it is the original 66 and a bridge.
Yep.
And you think Lewis Avenue in Tulsa is narrow? The original 66, those lanes were super narrow. And it's worth going out there to look for a golf ball or something just to see this is what the old Model Ts, rode on.
Well, and across the street is that automotive museum.
Oh, yeah.
From the golf course. They've got some museum there right across the street from that Rock Creek Golf Course.
Yeah. Something else.
Well, Gary, this is pretty inspirational, and we look forward to it. And if I'd say if in a month we can have Daniel back to give us the progress and see where we're at, because we'll be right at the beginning of April, a few weeks away from launching this thing.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
And we need to get our state representatives in Washington to get involved in this to help
what
us.
Would really help us a ton is Representative Hearn's been a real help to us. But if we can get somebody to present this to our president who loves golf.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And say, hey, President Trump, here's something that you really need to promote.
Hearn might be your guy for that.
Does this, I'm trying to think, Route 66, does it go through the 2nd District?
I'm not a politician.
66 goes, does it head northeast?
Yeah, it goes up through Miami.
Once you get to Claremore, you're in Mark Wayne Mullins.
Right,
district,
that's what I'm thinking.
All the way to Joplin.
Right, and then as far as...
I think we're in his territory.
Big time.
Right, that's what I was getting at. And then in the Congress...
He came in the room here.
And then the House, what's his name?
Mark Wayne's been here. I think he sat in your chair not long ago.
What's the congressman in the 2nd District?
Mark Wayne's in the 2nd.
He's a Senate. I'm talking about Congress.
You're right. Gosh.
He's Senator.
Josh Brokeen.
He's
a truck driver, so he understands transportation. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, he owned a trucking line, I should say.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we've talked to him. He's just a good old boy cowboy. Really is.
So I think it will behoove us.
Well, any help you can give us along those lines.
This is exciting. This is very exciting, especially since it's birthed here in Tulsa, the whole idea.
Absolutely.
And hopefully we can see it grow. And who knows?
We appreciate you all.
Well, I want to say something. Dads, grandpas, get started now. Make your plans. Moms, kids, Father's Day is going to be in June. You know what? That'd be a great time. Plan ahead. Make it his Father's Day gift. Book him for it.
That's awesome.
And listen, women, kids, they can all do this. This isn't just an old man
Absolutely.
Now, let me ask you, are there any basketball courts on any of these golf?
No.
I'm just,
the fortune, yeah.
I'm just,
there's a few.
I'm just
There's a
messing
few.
with you.
Well,
Yeah.
no, that's a good point. La Fortune's one of the central ones here.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
And that's a big complex with the
Right,
tennis center, softball, baseball. The whole family can have some fun.
And you can play at night. They got a lit.
That's right. They have a lit course.
Hey, La Fortune even has a croquet course.
Oh, see, croquet.
That's my game.
Route 66 croquet.
They got tennis. They've got the whole deal.
Yeah.
It's a family. They got the park.
Yeah.
It's a great. And they were the first one that committed to being on the trail. So that's why
Again, that'd be Kelly Dunker, Lake County Commissioner, because that's a county-owned course.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
Well, listen, I am so glad that you all were able to come in and discuss this, and I can't wait for Daniel to come back, give us a little more details.
Yeah, he's got a whole nother story that's better than mine.
Yeah. So stay tuned. Part B will be coming up here in a few weeks.
Exactly. What I really like to make it even better is your personal testimony and story of your background and just talking to Daniel a little bit. He's got another one that's just as inspiring. So
I have to give God all the credit for whatever success I've had. It's been him. It's not me.
Well, and you can see it. You can see how God has blessed you and all these years and where you are now. So, yeah, praise God. I get excited about this kind of thing.
Well, and I listen, state golf tournament, high school championship, college, OSU is going to have golfers. It'd be great to see them because they're some of the best in the world. We've got pro champions. Right, from Oklahoma. And I would just love to see some challenge matches, rematches.
Oh, yeah. Well, Tracy Phillips, I don't know if you know Tracy or not. He's out at one of the private courses here, Cedar Ridge, but he's come back on the tour and he's doing great, really great. Phenomenal golfer out here in Oklahoma.
You know the brothers from Union, that one's a pro golfer.
Well, no, it's his cousin. He's the cousin.
Okay.
Oh man, it just went through my mind. He was the quarterback at Union, and the cousin is out of Oklahoma City, and I can't think of their name right now. The one brother, he's an insurance agent here, farmer's agent here in Tulsa, and it's his cousin. I
just remember one of them from OSU winning some live golf tournaments.
Right, to live. He's a big live golfer and doing really well. So, but Gary, hey, thank you again so much for and we can do nothing more than wish you all of the success. And I'm not a golfer, but I want to be out there on that. And what is the opening weekend again?
It'll be 10 o'clock, April 30th.
April 30th.
At La Fortune.
Okay.
Yeah, we would love to have you guys.
Yeah.
Anybody's welcome.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thanks again.
Thank you all.
All right. And look for the guys on Facebook. Hopefully they'll have some social media groups where people can talk it up.
Right. Yep. And we will be back in a few moments. So just hang in there and we'll return then. Thank you.
It's another day, and I'm thinking about the things I want to say, but my thoughts are like clouds drifting far away. Well, are you it? I doubt sometimes that I'm on your mind. Just another face, looking up from the crowd, searching for a way to talk to you now. Sometimes I feel small in the scope of it all, and then I'm reminded again that the very same God that dreamt of the ocean set the stars into place. Well, He knows me by name. The very same God that put the world into motion is listening today. Here's what I say when I pray. I pray. I thank you for the faith that keeps me inspired, that tells me every day how much you desire just to hear from me. I can't tell you how much that means. It's so hard to conceive that the very same God that dreamt of the ocean, that set the stars into place, well, he knows me by name. The very same God that put the world into motion is listening today. Here's what I say when I pray, and I believe that you're with me, Lord, when I'm on my knees. Your timeless mercy rescues me. The very same God that dreamt of the ocean, that set the stars into place, well, he knows me by name. The very same God that put the world into motion is listening today. Here's what I say. The very same God that dreamt of the ocean, that set the stars into place, well, he knows me by name. The very same God that put the world into motion is listening today. Here's what I say when I pray. Oh, when I pray.
It would help if I spoke on the mic, but yeah, this was a pretty nice segment. We really enjoyed it, and I hope you all enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to getting Daniel Rainey, who's kind of the logistics guy with the whole project, and he's got another fantastic story to tell, which I can't wait to have him come in. Yes, may I have my close-up now, Mr. DeVille? But anyway, I was just saying, Dave, how I thought that it's funny. It's not as great a thing outwardly as speaking to, congressmen, senators, or governors, or candidates for these offices. But I guess the only word would be feel good. These are the type of things that make, and especially hearing his testimony or story of how the humble beginnings, baling hay for, what do you say, 30 cents?
6 cents a bale.
Excuse me, 6 cents a bale. Can you imagine? It reminds me of a guy we met my freshman year of college, and a couple of Black students. We were downtown in Lubbock, Texas, eating at a hotel for breakfast or something. I don't remember why. But anyway, and there was this worker there, and he really had some disdain for us. Yeah. And I wondered, what is wrong with this guy? And he was kind of upset at how we took things for granted, and we were too carefree. And he used to pick cotton when he was our age. He started picking cotton 10 cents for 100-pound bag of cotton. Now, you know how heavy cotton is, right? To get 100 pounds of cotton, he said the sacks.
That light, fluffy stuff?
Yeah.
100 pounds
Cotton,
of that light.
Cotton, that cotton.
My
not
God,
cotton
that would be like a pickup truck load.
Well, can you imagine? Yeah. And he said they had these bags that they put over there and they would pick it and throw it into the bag. 10 cents for 100 pounds. And, they would work a day and make $1. And which means they picked 1,000 pounds of cotton just going down these rows. If you go to Lubbock, Texas, Amarillo, down to Lubbock in the Panhandle area, there's cotton fields all along the highways. But these people used to pick this cotton by hand, 10 cents for 100-pound bag. And the bags were like 10 feet long. Mm-hmm. And they would just fill a bag and then they would throw it into a truck and then they grab another one and go. But it kind of got to me at the time, but being a young, brash, 18-year-old college kid, my mind, how a lot of kids today think, oh, sucks to be you. I didn't appreciate the gravity of what he was saying, of where we were compared to his growing up, and we're going to college and having fun and able to go eat. Oh, and it was in segregation days and everything, and we were able to eat at this coffee shop and just carefree. And see, this, I'm going to segue into another area, but this is why I really get upset at the attitude of a lot of Black people today, because they've lost perspective of where we've come from then to now.
The people in Africa, when you've gone over there, what do they say? What's wrong with the Black folk in the U.S.?
Yeah. Because
they got it better than anyone else.
They look up to us as we are the pinnacle of success, and we're here continually griping and complaining.
We're the least content.
Right. Instead of giving thanks and being happy.
Can I go back to this thing?
Yeah, please.
Right away, it harkened to me a great movie called Places in the Heart. Sally Field, Danny Glover, John Malkovich. It won the Academy Award for it, but it's all about a widow trying to save the family farm, cotton.
Yeah.
And this young, strapping Danny Glover, Black man comes and says, you know what? I can help you.
Yeah.
And he saved the farm.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, the only thing I really remember is the final scene where they're in the church and they're going through the church, and it's all the dead people that they're dead, but they showed up in the church.
Yeah.
And it was trying to show that regardless of race, we're all together.
Beautiful scene.
Yeah, it was a good. That was one of the, like I said, it's the only thing I really remember about the show at that point, other than her having to harvest this cotton. They were trying, the bank, I think, was trying to take her property or something.
There was an award for the first harvest, and Danny Glover beat the other farmer by just a little bit.
Yeah.
And they were trying to screw over this widow, Sally Fields. And Danny Glover's kind of giving signals to her. No, don't do that. Because this Black sharecropper, or had been, knew the business like no one else. I mean, it was kind of like a Booker T. Washington moment or a George Washington, because the man committed himself to industry and being his best.
What you're reminding me of now is there was a Booker T wrote a book. I have the book. I think it's a book that started out at like $2 or $3 for the book. It's like $100 now to get this book. But the name of the book is The Black Man in Business.
Oh,
and he starts. He tells the story of these poor Black people that started with nothing. And there's one about the, what is he? Not the cotton. It wasn't cotton. Potato.
Yeah.
The Potato King of Kansas.
You've told that story. It's worth retelling.
Yeah, it's just amazing that this guy was a sharecropper and a white farmer gave him a piece of his land to work and to grow potatoes. And he got so good at it that he ended up in the end having the largest potato farm in Kansas became a millionaire. And because he was so prosperous and had so many potatoes, he was able to save Ireland during the potato famine. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Go study about the potato famine in some kind of weevils or something destroyed all the potato crops in Ireland for some period. And so this black man in Kansas, outside of Topeka, ended up shipping his potatoes to save Ireland. I mean, these are stories you're not going to hear, especially in the black media, because they don't want you to, they want to, as Booker T said, emphasize grievance. They're always whining and grieving, but there are tremendously successful black citizens during segregation and Jim Crow. There were people that, as Booker T says, when you bring something to the markets of the world that everyone wants, they do not long inquire about your race. In other words, nobody cares what color you are when you're inventing the telephone or computer or software or space technology, et cetera, et cetera.
Or, as Larry Holmes said,
if you're black and rich, you ain't black. Those immortal words.
They all want your money.
Well, yeah, exactly.
You know what? My great-grandfather came over from Belgium. He finally made his fortune when he realized the land that was rocky and clay was great for potatoes. And I remember as a kid going there and seeing all this old, early farming equipment from the 20s, right? But you talk about this, 6 cents a bale. My great-grandfather had 5 boys. And in the winter, there's not much to do, but there was a logging camp nearby. And my grandpa was only like 10 years old. And his brother's all going there. He's the youngest of the boys. And they take him back with them. And the foreman says, what the heck? We don't need kids here, But my grandpa's really tall for his age. Finally, the guy says, wait a minute. I'll give you 5 cents a tie. They were making railroad ties. Using a broad axe, you stand on this log that's kind of in a saddle thing, and you're just swinging because you got to make
split it, right?
Right, you got to make 2 sides smooth enough so they can hammer railroad spike into it. And he's doing this, and he figures he gets down to about 1 every 20 minutes. And his brothers are making $1 a day. He was making about 15 cents an hour, and he's figuring it out over an 8-hour day. He's going to be starting out making more than his brothers at 10 years old. Well, the foreman comes by a few minutes later, sees what he did. He says, I tell you what, we'll keep you. You'll make the same $1 a day like your brothers. And crap, I just took a cut in pay. But that was the thing. It was, it's hard work.
Yeah. It's funny because when I think about my very first job was a paper boy.
Yes.
But I was 8.5 or 9 when I.
You too. So was I. 8 o'clock. 8 years old.
My pay was not pay. I got a little card that let me go to the movie theater free anytime, as many times as I wanted.
Oh my goodness.
But the problem was that you had to be 11 to be a paper boy.
Yeah.
And so the guy was just shocked, that here's a 8.5-year-old kid coming in. He wants to be a paper boy when, and they were so blown away at the fact this, 8.5-year-old kid is coming in, wants to be a paper boy, And I said, yeah, I'll do it because I just wanted the card, I just wanted the movie pass. And so they ended up calling me. Yeah, it gave me the job. And I had this route, and at that time I had gotten good on a bike. I was riding with no hands, and I would just, flip the papers, and I'd have to say, even though I was 8.5, it lasted until probably I was 10, but I was one of the best they had. Now, there's a little caveat to that. They used to dump the papers at my house, and then in those days, you had to fold your own papers and rubber band them.
So you got to throw them. I didn't.
Oh no, I threw them. Yeah. But here's the thing: to fold, like 500 newspapers, that takes a while. Yeah. So what would happen? They would do it, and my mom rolled them for me.
Yeah.
my mother. So I'd come home and she said, your papers are ready, and it's so funny because I used to do these crazy things on my own. And then my parents would find out, well, who's going to do that? You need to roll these papers. And I was the only spoiled only child, oh, really? I got to do that? They didn't tell me I had to do that. So my mom jumps in and my dad, of course, why are you rolling the papers for him? She didn't care. It's a hard-headed German. And so, but I would come home and my papers would be all ready and in the bags, and I would just strap my bags on and I start writing and flipping my papers. But I got really good at throwing it. I mean, I could put it right on the porch, right on the front of the door, just,
Yep.
and it's one of those childhood memories, but it's funny because I had 2 strikes against me. You would think 2 things. I was underage and I was black. I'm the first and was the only black kid throwing papers, working for the newspaper. It was on an Air Force base, but but still, I was the only and the first black kid that they had, and the youngest one they'd ever hired. So when I think back, how I went from that to becoming a black radical 10 years later when I got to college, it just shows how youth can be so swayed into buying crap, basically, BS, because I had always, whether it's in Germany, being the only black kid in this Catholic school and marching in parades in the middle of Bavaria, Nazi stronghold, and here's this black kid at the front of the parade carrying the banners and stuff, and I don't say this to brag or anything, but it just shows how I didn't understand these things basically until I got saved, until I became a Christian and could look back and see when God is for you, no one can be against you. It just testifies to the scripture. Yeah. But God was for me all the way back to I was this little kid. I didn't know any better. I would go into these stores and tell people, oh, I want this candy or this, and my grandmother will pay for it, and they would give me stuff. I mean, give me free food, and then my grandmother would pay for it. But you look at Booker T. Similar story. Yeah, he grew up in West Virginia, and it was after slavery. Well, slavery hadn't really ended. It ended while he was there. When 9 years old. When he's 9 years old is when slavery actually ended. But he was supposed to work in the salt mines, but the lady of the owner made him her houseboy. And you can just see how, and he says he wasn't a very good houseboy. He used to run away and she was very mean and but she kept taking him back and kept until he got it down. And it developed in him the characteristics that later made him the star pupil at Hampton University or Hampton Technical College at that time. Yeah, that was a colored people college. Right, to train the Negro. And but those lessons he learned back in Malden, West Virginia, he took to Hampton and allowed him to become who he was, the star pupil, and then a teacher, and all of the things that he did. So I think what I'm trying to say is, if you've got young people out there, you've heard the saying, the beginning is not the end. How you start is not how you finish. It's persevering. It's having faith. It's pressing on. Now, it's going to take hard work. It's going to take hard work, but it'll be worth it. If you put faith in God and you work hard, I promise, God will elevate you, promote you, and give you a good outcome. God will make a way. God will make a way. That story of him, Booker T, going from West Virginia, I remember reading that in his Up From Slavery is the name of the book. And he'd gotten, I think it was a coach ticket, stagecoach at that time.
and he had the money for it, but there
was a train.
It was a train.
It was a train, yeah.
Okay. But there's
he didn't have enough money to get him all the way there.
There was a layover, and everybody else is staying at some inn or hotel. Well, if he could have found a colored people's hotel, he didn't have the money for it, so he slept under the boardwalk.
Well, yeah, that was actually later.
Okay.
He ran out of money. What you're saying, going to Hampton, he ran out of money and he slept there. But the story, there's another story. There was a Hampton University or Hampton Technical School back in those days. What they did, they also brought in Native Americans.
Okay.
And to kind of, I hate to use the word, civilize them and teach them.
Tribal members, yeah.
To teach them. And so what they did, General Armstrong, who founded Hampton, he chose Booker to teach. He gave all of the Native American students to Booker to train. Well, one of them became ill, and he had to take him to Walter Reed Hospital in Baltimore. And so as they were going, they checked in this student in the hotel. The Native American could stay in the hotel, but Booker T couldn't stay in the hotel. Okay. And so he had to sleep in a barn on that occasion. So, yeah, but despite it, he didn't gripe about it. He never said anything. He said, okay, you got him in. He did his job. And then he goes and stays, in a barn, in a stable. And then the next day they got him, completed their trip to Baltimore to get the kid to the hospital and then go back. So, but these are the things that promoted him at Hampton to becoming, and we'll just tell the whole story. So what happened, the people in Tuskegee, Alabama, the black people wanted a vocational school like Hampton, like Florida A&M, some of these other black, traditionally, historically black schools. So they wanted one. Mm-hmm. So they got a congressman there, or got running for office, who they made a deal. He said, okay, I'll give you money for this school if you help me get elected. He was a Democrat too. So, so he made a deal, sure enough, and he came through. And so they wrote to Hampton to try to get a teacher to start their school.
To Armstrong, right?
Right, to General Armstrong. Yeah. But in their mind, they were expecting a white teacher to come because black people today are still conditioned to some extent that certain things white people would just do better.
Yeah.
So they never had an idea. And all of a sudden here shows up this young Booker who is like, I think he was 20 years old at the time. And he shows up there in Hampton and he was all excited because General Armstrong told him, no, I can't come in one, but I've got the perfect person to start this school. And he sends him Booker, and the people are all, what, him? And when he was all excited, I don't know if this happened to you, it's happened to me, that you're all excited about a new job, a new location, a new something. You can't wait to get there. And then you get there, so wait a minute, this isn't what I signed up for. Well, when he got there, all they had was a chicken coop.
Yeah. And this is not what the brochure looked like.
And so this is what he had to work with. But he got the townspeople together, had meetings, and to their credit, in Tuskegee, Alabama, in pre-Jim Crow, just right after slavery, this was like 1880, 85 or something, they ended up still, that must have been earlier, must have been in late 1870s or early 80s. But anyway, so Booker, shows up, there's nothing there, but he was able to get the people together and they built that school. And within 20 years, it became one of the premier universities in the South.
Well, you think of it, nobody told them that on their property, they had some of the best clay for making brick. And the industry in that mindset is like, we're going to learn how to make brick. And became one of the most successful masonry companies.
Tuskegee Bricks.
Right. And they couldn't afford furniture. They had to make their own.
Right. But also, as far as the brick, it didn't just come that they worked for months.
Exactly.
And it kept breaking and they weren't good enough. And
that's how you learn.
They kept going. They ended up with the best. The Tuskegee brick was and they started selling those. And
everybody wanted it.
Right. They wanted that.
You know, and their furniture. And you had craftsmen who knew how because necessity breeds invention.
And in New York City, when I don't know if you heard of Adam Clayton Powell Jr.
I remember
he was a House member. He was a congressman but his dad, Adam Clayton Powell Sr., was his pastor in New York, and he needed a church building, a nice big church facility. And they kept trying to find these architects and people artisans to build the church, and they couldn't find anybody they trusted. So what did they do? They went to Tuskegee and had the Tuskegee architects and the Tuskegee engineers come out and built this big, huge, which is still standing today in New York City. So, yeah, these are the things that, like I said, that's why I was so inspired by Gary's story, where he came from and where he ended up with this. I mean, think about it. They built the UMAC, remodeled and expanded the Iber Arena in Stillwater, and so many other projects that he has worked on. It's just a testimony that it's not how you start, but it's how you finish. And let that be an example to you all. And when we hear from his son-in-law, Daniel Rainey is his name. When we hear from him in a couple of weeks, want to bring him back. He's got an equally, it's funny, but he's the kind of person that, from hearing where he was, you would never want your daughter to be involved with this guy.
Oh, this is rich.
I know. I mean, that's
fun.
I know. That's what I was going to say. But yet, he is a great husband, great father, and he's been working with Gary on developing this. So anyway, but now, Dave, I don't have my phone with me, but when I woke up this morning, my wife told me that Israel has attacked Iran.
It's on.
And with the aid of the United States.
Yes.
And so can you bring us up to date on where we are on that?
Well, the story I'm hearing, as it's breaking now, a top Israeli official is cited as a source to say that the supreme religious leader of Iran started out with they killed him. It was not started with a, quote, bombing raid, a blitzkrieg or anything like that. That Mossad and Western intelligence had penetrated the regime so well that they knew there was going to be a meeting this morning between the supreme leader, the Ayatollah, and the top defense ministry guy. As soon as they both got in the room, boom. Bomb goes off. They're dead. That's the narrative we're hearing. Now, it's early, fog of war. We'll see if this is true. But they waited for that to happen. And then they didn't strike until the supreme leader and the top military guy are gone. And nobody knows.
So there's chaos.
And remember, this happened last fall. Israel just at one time hit every nuclear scientist in their bedroom. At once. Right.
By putting exploding phones. It was there.
Well, that was something else. That was up in Lebanon with Hezbollah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. But they were in a hotel or something, weren't they? Somewhere.
No, there's several locations.
Oh, okay.
They hit them all in their bedroom. Missile strikes. Yeah.
Wow.
And so that's what we know. Now, I watched this morning, incoming missiles from Iran. So far, best intelligence I have is the Iron Dome is
holding
perfect so far. There was no reports when it came to the studio yet of any damage, casualties on the ground in Israel anywhere. So that's what we know. Now, middle of the night, Trump goes live 3 a.m. with an announcement. So we know 3 a.m. our time, it was already announced and on. So it was 8:15 a.m., probably local time in Tehran, when the bomb went off that supposedly killed the Ayatollah, or supreme leader, they call him. And so we don't know. Things are a mess there. What Trump did say, this is important. I heard Mark Wayne Mullen talking this morning, our Oklahoma U.S. Senator, that you're not going to see another Iraqi invasion or even an Afghan type deal. They're saying, people of Iran, it's time for you
to take your country back. Right.
Much like he did kind of a modified version of that in Venezuela, where he found remnants of the regime that he says, you know what, you want to work with us? We'll work with you. Mm-hmm. So far that seems to be working. That's what we know.
Right. See, here's the thing that's always gotten me about Iran, Persia, which used to be Persia.
Yep.
It today still has some of the most beautiful, attractive, and most intelligent people from the entire Middle East. And so you can see how they were probably pretty far along in their nuclear program. It's not hard to imagine, we're not talking, as people used to use the slur, camel jockeys.
Alex Saleri, he's my neighbor. He wasn't talking about you when he said attractive. Okay. Alex and I, we banter about, we're good friends and that. Okay. Yeah. His wife maybe, but I better be careful.
You go. There you go.
I may get a shotgun for even talking about his wife.
I mean, I'm not attracted to men, so I can only speak about the attractive women that come from Iran.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like I said, the Iranians, which actually were not the Persians or the Iraqis, the Medes were Iran. The Iranian is
that right?
Yeah, is they were further east. So, but nevertheless, the Medo-Persians are a very attractive race. Okay, I'll just leave it there. But anyway, but no, this gives a lot of hope, and we need to be in prayer and hoping that the people can be set free again from this reign of terror and intimidation. Now, it could go in a couple of different ways. There's whether or not Russia, China, and all them get involved, and we're facing Armageddon, which is a distinct possibility. But if everything goes according to how we would like it to go, it would mean that we can bring freedom and liberty back to the nation of Iran. And once we get them calmed down, it'll allow these other nations to again become free, because Iran was behind so much of the unrest and the persecution and everything going on in the other countries over there. Now, it's not going to end everything. For example, the for some reason, only the United States was able to end tribalism. Mm-hmm. And we're talking tribalism around the world. Mm-hmm. Africa, the tribalism. Asia, the tribalism. Europe, tribalism. Yep. And it's amazing. The U.S. truly has become a melting pot. And it's because you took these people from different tribes and different backgrounds and made them have to work together to survive and build something. Another country similar to the U.S. on a smaller scale would be Australia. Australia and New Zealand are similar, very similar. Although Australia, it's just like America. For some reason, they still felt, even though they come from these different backgrounds, they still felt they needed to look down upon the Aboriginals, the Maori, and then later even Asians. There was a period of time where Asians, no one except the white ethnicity was allowed to immigrate to Australia. That was the immigration rule. You could not immigrate if you were black, if you're yellow, if you're red. Mm-hmm. You could not immigrate to Australia. And I remember, did you ever see the movie? I can't remember. It's with Nicole Kidman and Hugh. I can't remember his last name now. Hugh. He's an Australian. They're both Australians. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it showed a little bit of their history and how they were attacked by the Japanese on the second half. But in the first half, they were dealing with, and it's funny because it wasn't so much a racial thing, which I've always said, these are not racial issues. These are societal issues and cultural issues. And do you have money or not issues? And so the wealthy class in Australia, just like England, everywhere.
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman, yeah.
Yeah, in the movie, evidently, it's called Australia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. A good movie. Great movie. I've seen it probably 4 times, even though I can't remember the name of it. But it just shows in every society, every culture, it's not a racial issue. It's what James said, that you lust after what these people have and you can't get it, so you become angry because, or if you do have it, you want to keep it and not share it with these people that you consider beneath you. Oh, in fact, let me have her, if you want to see a show, it's just come on Netflix a couple of months ago. It was a PBS Hallmark show. It was called Poldark. Oh, yeah. And it's on Netflix now. You can watch it on Netflix. It is one of our favorites that we've seen. And Poldark, I think I may have mentioned, it's about a British soldier that came. He was from like the noble class in England, but he joined the British military to fight against the American colonists. And in the Revolutionary War. It shows it from you don't actually see the war because it's about England, what's going on over there. So anyway, he becomes wounded and they think he's dead. And so his fiance that he had thought he was dead and decides to become engaged to this other nobleman. And he comes home in the middle of all of this. And the other nobleman is not too noble. I mean, he's one of the most despicable people.
Sure.
You want to throw things at the TV because this guy is such a rat. I don't know if he will ever get a career in acting after that role again, because
that's a shame.
I know. I mean, well, he took the role, and he literally.
Yeah, but that would be like our friend Kevin Adams, the famous defense attorney, not getting another case in court or losing his bar license to practice because he defended David Ware, who killed a cop.
Yeah, but when you're a defense attorney, then he's the guy you want. If he's willing to take that case and take it to...
But an actor who can bring life to such a despicable character, that's a great actor.
Oh, it is. Oh, and he does a great job. Anyway.
The tabloids, though, hate you. Because you're evil.
Well, yeah, you're evil. I mean, this guy is evil. I mean, he's bad. And you keep thinking, you know, in your mind, you keep, he's going to somehow, there's the part where he changes and everybody lives happily ever after. Nah, it doesn't happen. Yeah. So anyway, but if you get a chance on Netflix, check out Poldark, Poldark. Okay.
Evidently started out as a BBC project.
Yeah, right. That's right. And then PBS picked it up and now it's on Netflix. Yeah. So anyway, but back to our
it is a series, a TV series.
Oh yeah, it's a series.
Not a
movie.
Double feature movie.
Right. No, it's a several seasons it had, and we loved it. I mean, you literally fall in love with these characters. And we'll say one more thing. The main character, he also played in the Hobbit movies. He was one of the dwarves. Okay. Which is kind of funny to see him. And we didn't watch Poldark until after the Hobbit movies, and then went back and realized, that was him. Yeah. And he has a good role there too.
Anyway, Aidan Turner, the guy who plays Poldark.
Yeah.
Oh, he was one of the 4 hobbits.
He was one of the. He was one of the dwarves.
Dwarves. Okay.
He was a dwarf in there. Okay. And in fact, we're chasing rabbit after rabbit. I could say many things about his character, but one of the most poignant scenes, one of the best scenes in the movie is between him and I can't remember her name. She was on Lost. Yeah. She was the main girl on Lost. But anyway, they have this scene. She's an elf. He's a dwarf. But excellent scene. I'm not going to go into it.
In case you don't know, we're talking about the war against Iran.
Yeah, with dwarves and elves and England in their society. Yeah. No, but anyway, I don't remember how we got off here, but yes. So Israel has.
Well, you're talking about tribalism, believe it or not.
That's right, tribalism. Yeah. And so the world has this tribalism thing, and if it's not about race, it's about class, and then it becomes about political parties, and religion. Yeah, and religion, the Inquisitions, and in the old
Northern
days,
Ireland,
right? And even back in the old days, you had the church, to its shame, became the wealthiest landowners and other things in it
was society. For God, Eddie. It was for God.
Right. And when they fought wars, this is what's so crazy. They would fight wars, and they would want the backing of the church because the church had to pay for it. So the church. So if I've got my state or country here and I want to fight this one, then I've got to go to Rome and get Rome to support me. Yeah. Rome was like the U.S. government in those days.
But it was a perfect picture. You've seen the movie Kingdom of Heaven. Yeah. The Knights Templar.
Classic movie.
Famous 4 words of the Knights Templar. It is God's will. Whatever hellish plans they have to invade, kill, slaughter, murder, it is God's will. And as soon as one of the Knights Templar says that, a bunch of people would just blindly follow. And I sat there with my teenage boys at the time watching that movie, and I said to them, that's when I realized more often taking the Lord's name in vain happens from the pulpit. Preachers claiming something that's carnal as God's will, because it meets their goals for power. And I said, we have to be careful. Taking the Lord's name in vain doesn't mean using vulgar language. It's not about that. It's about claiming to speak for God where God hasn't spoken.
Yes, that's it. That is it. Did God indeed say?
Yeah.
No, too many times God did not say. Yeah. It's like maybe the micro generation of Christians before yours, which was my generation. Okay. And I don't know if you still had this when you were a young baby or a young Christian activist, but we used to have the thing where girls would feel, or a guy would feel, that God told them that's going to be my wife.
Oh, God, especially at Bible college.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. But just in churches, our kids, we were young to go to college, but they knew, these girls knew that God told me he's going to be my husband, or God said that's going to be my wife. Oh, my goodness. You talk about tragedy.
Yeah.
Tragedy.
God doesn't tell anybody. No. Because the only time God picked a spouse for somebody, it turned out horribly in the Garden of Eden. Well, first of all,
so you're saying God not only made a mistake, but he made a big mistake.
Well, what did Adam do? Blamed God. Well, the woman you gave me.
Yeah, that was more Adam thing than an Eve thing.
Right, but the thing is, we are not commanded that we must get married.
No, but it's better to be married than to lust. Okay,
exactly.
But going back to Adam and Eve. Okay, okay. I can't blame this all on Eve. What Adam needed to do was stop and drink a cup of man before he went to Eve and say, "No, we're not doing this."
Yeah, homie, don't do that.
Sissy, don't do that. Sister, don't do that. But so there's enough blame to go around with everybody.
Yeah, but everybody wants to blame somebody else.
Yeah,
and Yeah, and this is a serious thing. Now, what God does have to a disciple's life is a veto.
Right.
If you're marrying somebody who you're not fit to marry by biblical description, in other words, do not be unequally yoked, a believer with an unbeliever. That's God vetoes that.
That's the pre-marriage thing. Once you do marry them, then you are to stay with them as far as the women, unless they put you out.
Yes. Now that's in Corinthians. He says, if God called you married, if you are called bound, don't seek to be unbound.
Exactly. And
but if the unbelieving partner wants to stay with you, then stay with them.
Right.
If they want to leave, let them leave.
Right.
And you're not bound in such cases.
Right. But see, here's the problem with that. When you're 25 years old, you see nothing but a life of misery for the next however long it is. You do not realize how quickly those 40 years, 50 years are going to go by. When you're on the other end, by the way, my 50th anniversary is in a couple of months.
Nice.
Well, is it? I'm just... I always joke. There's this.
I see if Vicky's texting me.
I always joke, and she just gets mad when I do. But there's a movie called The War of Roses. They've redone it. There's a new version of it that's just something about the Rose Wars, or I can't remember the new name, but it was The War of Roses with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner.
Okay.
And it's this couple that just, it was not a marriage made in heaven.
Yeah.
It's probably the movie Marriage Made in Hell. And this is what makes my wife mad. I always talk about they're seeking counseling, and Danny DeVito is the marriage counselor.
Oh, this would be precious.
Yeah. He's a lawyer and the marriage counselor. Anyway,
the counseling don't work out.
He is so gifted.
Yeah.
I mean, Danny
I'm
DeVito
a divorce lawyer.
is just the great. No, he's not a divorce lawyer. He's just a counselor. And so anyway, so there, and then he's talking to him. He says, yeah, well, listen, my dearly departed mom and dad, they were married 63 years, and there were even a few good ones in there. And that's a line that's always good, and I always tell people, I've been married 40 years, and there were a couple of good years in there, and my wife just hates it when I say that. But no, but the thing is, you have to grow in your marriage and your expectations, and when you think about it, like when I think back on the 50 years since she walked down the aisle, I waited for her down at the front, and you go back to dating, but it's truly, truly a blink of the eye. And to think if we had decided to part ways somewhere back there, we would still be here, but with somebody else, and probably regretting a lot of the steps along the way.
It's a lot of mess.
It is.
Yeah.
And so this is why people in general, people out there, it's hard to get it sometimes, but you need to get an eternal perspective, first of all, that in lieu of eternity, okay, if you look at eternity and the brief time that we have in our lives in eternity, and then you even going down into a lifetime, how quickly even that goes by. Some of the decisions we make that sound so good today or seem so good today in the perspective of an entire lifetime are not worth it. Yeah. They're just not worth it. And so now, I'm not saying that you're supposed to be stuck with a person for these 60 or 40, 50, 60 years of wedded, mess, not bliss, but mess. Because there are cases where people have such serious issues there are men and women who have such issues that it's irreconcilable.
Well, there are biblical examples where
Right.
it clearly breaks a marriage vow.
Right.
And Bill Gates is in the news. He admitted it. He had affairs with a couple of Russian chicks. Epstein, I think, was part of that. And he got, a VD. And then he's trying to get help from Epstein. How can we secretly get her medicine so she doesn't get chlamydia from me? Well, now, if you're Melinda Gates and your husband's, bringing to your bed diseases that could cause cancer, there's reasons for this.
Oh, no, I understand.
She did divorce him.
I understand. But in today's world and society, I'd say that's more of a rarity. Probably not as much as it, probably more, or I'm sorry, it's not as much of a rarity today as it was, say, 50, 100 years ago, okay? But at the same time, that is still not the major reason people get divorced. A lot of it is just, she snores, he snores.
Sure.
She doesn't cook the food that I like.
Well, they
my
just
mom
treat
did.
each other horribly.
Yeah, exactly. Or I can't stand her laugh. Or this. Well, wait a minute. You mean you had all those years, or however long you had to date, before you figured out that you don't like her laugh, or you don't like his laugh, or you don't like the way he dresses, she dresses.
Can I say something on this?
Yeah.
There was a time my wife was dealing with a protracted disability, and I'm having to take care of the kids at home and try to run a business, get it off the ground. And I'm at a client's house. He happens to be a very successful physician, wife stay at home, beautiful family, wealthy. And the neighbor has me doing some work. And she says to me, says, you hear so-and-so's getting divorced. I said, yeah, I've heard that. And she says, well, she deserves better. And I'm thinking of my wife laid up at home. Like, really? Do I deserve better too? Because I made a vow of sickness and health, better for worse. And where did this mentality of entitlement change? That's one point. The second point. This week, I was at a client's house, couple from India. Her family came over here several years ago. She basically grew up in the United States, but her mother got with people back in India and arranged this marriage for her daughter to a guy. They flew in from India. They got married. They now have their home. I don't have permission to give their name, but this is clearly an arranged marriage by the families. Wonderful family, Christian, committed, from India. Yes, the Christians in India, this is their cultural practice, okay? Many of them. But it harkens back to something I heard on an interview program where a woman from India said, you in the West choose to marry those whom you love. We in the East choose to love those who we marry.
That's interesting, yeah.
It's a commitment, not a feeling or an emotion. And we in the West have flipped everything on end and said, follow your feelings. And once the feelings are gone, get an attorney.
Yeah.
But that's what the decadent Western culture has become.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's my...
Oh, no. I learned from my father, I remember one morning, it was my fault, but, I didn't, it was a morning, I was had a football game or a basketball game, something, I can't remember what it was. And I used to not like fried eggs.
I'm sorry.
And so I love them now, but back then, so my mom had fixed this breakfast and I said, I'm not that hungry. And so I don't want to eat the eggs, just give me PBJ or something, And my mother said, what? And I don't know what was going on in her mind. So she picks up my plate and everything, and she goes out and throws it in the trash. Man, she goes to the sink, washing this. And my dad said, "Are you nuts? What are you doing? We don't have the money to be throwing food away." He would eat that. He so he was going to make me eat that breakfast because
out of the garbage can.
No. Before she threw it away.
Yeah.
So and so she's there, and she turns around and she has a knife in her hand, and she throws the knife at my dad. She missed him, hit the door with the knife
Over your behavior.
Yeah, over my behavior, because she was just that volatile, And so anyway, my dad, he looked at where she threw the knife, looked up, looked at me. Next thing I know, he turns around, he goes and gets a jacket, and he leaves. And so I had this game I still had to play. I think it was a basketball game. Must have been basketball. Anyway, and so but the whole day, I just couldn't get this out of my mind. Oh, no, it's over. They're done. The marriage is over, blah. So I come in, and it's quiet. Totally quiet. And for like the rest of that night, and the whole next day, I didn't see my parents. I didn't hear anything. I was just, oh, great, what's going on? And then, like, this was on a Saturday. Monday morning, we get up. It's like nothing had even happened.
Wow.
Everything was business as usual. And so I learned, later on, my dad was in Vietnam, I think, at the time, and my mother got mad at me, and she, and so what did I do? I leave. I did my father say. I went for a walk and just stayed gone for like several hours.
Yeah.
And then came back, and everything was good to go. So I've learned this, and I've had to do this with my wife in our marriage, that, there's times when, and, my wife can be volatile, and my dad and we have we're not volatile. We'll just,
It's pretty common male characteristics in female, comparatively.
Okay, so. Yeah. So anyway, she'll get fired up and and if I feel it's getting to a certain point, I just leave. And then when I come back, boom, And see, and my wife came from a background where her family, they would always she thought, you have to work this out. You got to, get counseling, go do this, do this, do this. And I come from a different one, In fact, to me, I've learned that most people that go get counseling end up divorced. And I learned this doing the marriage and family class in college, that most people, for some reason, when they go to counseling, they end up divorced.
I could give you something that'll really help you understand that. Laura Schlesinger, remember when she was on the radio?
Oh, yeah.
She says, I'm not a fan of psychotherapy because most people come out of it way more selfish than they went in.
That's interesting. Yeah. So anyway, I adopted my dad's method. I just, when it gets to a certain heated point, rather than keep arguing, fighting, just walk away. And now even though my wife used to be frustrated because she wanted to talk it out, argue it out, do something, get this out. No, I felt it was the other way. And now we're both the same. Now because it doesn't do any good.
I can tell you, and I will say, and Debbie, I'm sorry if I go over the line here, but
I did.
A little bit different, but I'm very much the same as you. What we do is we say, I need a break. Anytime one of us needs a break, the other has to honor it. There has to be very urgent circumstances not to. But we also try to, within a few minutes, give a sense of when I'll be back. And you have to honor that, because if you can't be at your best, it's not in anybody's best interest to have any kind of dialogue when you're not at your best, most self-controlled. Because Eddie, what your dad knew and is you can only control you.
Right.
And you did that. And so that's all I'm saying is I'm very much like you, with the exception is Debbie and I have an understanding that when either of us needs a break, we just say, need a break. I don't know what you think of that.
Well, the only difference I think is you're saying you need a break.
Exactly.
I just take a break.
Well,
and I initiate it usually. Like I'll just, and realize, when she gets through dealing with whatever is really beneath all of this, because it's not just because it'll be stupid. I mean, when you really stop it, like I wake up the next morning and I can't even remember what in the heck were we arguing about yesterday.
That's a good point.
You really don't remember. It's some stupid.
It's a good point. But all I'm saying is for us, and this is our personalities, is we avoid the feeling of rejection by saying that, we're not rejecting. Don't take this personally. I need a break. Sometimes it's just a break to really think. Person had a good point. I want to think about it before I respond. Because what does the scripture say? Be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath.
Well, I think the only difference is like in our case, you just figure, they'll understand that I don't want to take this any further. And you deal with your issue, I'll deal with mine.
Yeah, and listen, over time, you two have come to understand what's going on.
And it's interesting because, see, I've seen with our kids do the same thing. Like my number one son, I mean, rarely do we get together and we don't fight.
Yeah.
And both of our wives just kind of turn around, face them as, oh, here they go again. It's like the young ram and the old ram, when they're bumping heads.
My oldest son said about my middle child, because middle child and I will debate. And he says, you know what, Dad? He'll argue and argue and argue. And then he'll go do exactly what you recommended.
We would do that. And then
that's how he challenges the soundness of your reason.
My son's wife, it would just freak her out. She would, when they were first married, she didn't understand how can what is going on? This is, and then, but next week of all of the kids, he's the one that's always calling. Like if my wife's out of town, hey, Dad, you doing okay? Is everything going fine? Why don't you come? You want to come over? Let's go do the, but it's just our personalities. We don't agree on. It's like you and me, not agreeing on stuff. But and so sometimes, it gets inflamed because we're both. It's just our nature. I think I have a part of my mom in there, but then we just let it go, and then when we get back to it, it's like it never happened. It's the weirdest thing.
Remember early on the podcast, you had an interview with a former classmate at seminary who had written a book. And you talked about living there in the housing, and you said to him, yeah, we were just married. You probably heard her screaming and yelling. But Eddie, the thing is, over the years, there is a bond that's only deepened. At those early years, there's a lot of insecurity, a lot.
Yeah.
Especially she's told stories about, her upbringing, tough family.
Yeah, but see, but what I found, and I share all of this with you all to let you know that if you got issues, so do we. We're not perfect, okay?
Oh, yeah.
But which is a lot of times you look at people, oh, this is the perfect couple. They're the perfect family. 50 years, been married 50 years. Like, oh, yeah, it's my soulmate. And we've always, no, it's not that easy. And what helped us is we went to counseling with our pastor at the time.
Yes.
We had two different ones, but the one where we actually went to church at the time. And he brought us in. He says, you two love each other? Yeah, of course we love each other. That's why we want to get married. He said, yeah, it's not enough. What do you mean? Yeah, he said, it's not enough. Yeah. He said, what do you mean? He said, everybody that comes through that door and anybody I've ever seen, they're always in love. Mm-hmm. But what are you going to do when the love goes away?
Yeah.
That's the question. You have this feeling that when you're in love, young puppy love, what kind of love, whatever love it is, you have this feeling that I'm always going to have this feeling of love. No,
So important.
No, you're not going to have it. And it's once you get to that, and I'll tell you how that, I mean, probably monthly, if not weekly or every so often, I have to remember that. You know, I'm reminded of his admonition that it's when you get to that time when you don't feel the love that you're going to work through it. And then at the end, that's when you'll realize the way you can tell that the love is still, and you love somebody, is when you feel remorse after the fact. You know, you have a disagreement or whatever, and then you're sitting there and say, "Oh man, why did we get into? Why did that happen?" And you know, and you let it go. It does not affect you. What affects you is when you get in an argument and you pile grievance upon grievance upon grievance. Oh, there he goes again. Or there she is again. She's just like her mother. She's just like her brother. She doesn't understand me, and da da da. And then you've got go to work, and a secretary or an associate or somebody there understands you so much better.
Yeah. Root of bitterness.
Yeah.
The scripture warns us against a root of bitterness.
Yeah, it's crazy. Seriously, it's crazy how that works. And of course, you know, before I got married, before I even met my wife, I always said in college that I'm only doing this once. I will only get married once. If it doesn't work, I'm done.
Yeah. But
there's no sense in jumping from marriage to marriage to marriage, hoping that somebody is going to be better than this or whatever. And you have to have that attitude really to make it. Because if there's that escape pod back here or the escape door, emergency exit, trust me, you will take it. So you've got to go in saying, this is it. I'm in it for the long haul. And with God, once you make that commitment and you commit that to the Lord and then ask him to bring you the right person, it doesn't mean that the right person is the person that you're always going to be skipping down the yellow brick road with them or having this wonderful time. It's that person you're committed to and they're committed to you. So,
you know,
anyway, that's
one family.
I don't know how we even got here. Where did we start? With Israel being attacking Iran.
I got to say this. So there's an attorney and his wife. I'm doing legal work. I'm doing work on their home, and he recommends me to his law practice partner who does family law. So I'm doing some work on their house. He's married to just a gorgeous woman who's also an attorney, right? And he has kids from a previous marriage. I don't know if he'd been married twice before. So I'm working on getting this house ready to put on the market. Found out it's because this gorgeous wife of his is divorcing him. And I'm getting the house ready to sell. She's wanting to move to England for something, I forget. You know, and she's leaving him. And a woman comes by and she's bawling her eyes out. And he's in the backyard kind of giving me directions on finishing painting the house. And he stops. He says, Dave, I've got to handle something else. Give us some space here, you know. She's a client going through a divorce, this other woman. And about a year, not even a year later, I get a call. Hey, can you come put up Christmas lights? He's married to this woman
who was getting
that he was
counseling.
Yeah, she was a client. And I'm like, boy, what a gig. And the singles deal is be a divorce attorney. You get first shot at the new ones coming available.
Depending on how good a job you do.
But I don't know how many marriages the guy's on. I've kind of lost track of it. Just,
yeah. Well, that should tell you that you're the problem.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you know, and it's funny because I'd always see him slender up about the time his marriage is ending, you know, because he wants to look his best.
For the next
dealt
one.
with the weight problems. But, yeah, and it's just really sad. Ed, you remember the famous scene in Fiddler on the Roof between Tevye and his wife? Question is, do you love me? And they turn it into a musical.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, and I think that was true of generations ago, especially in Catholic communities. Now, this is Jewish, of course,
Right.
Fiddler in the Roof, but it's kind of a sense of duty.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, every nationality, every background had that at that time where marriage was it was automatically a lifetime commitment.
yeah, the law pretty much said you have to have grounds.
Right. And you know,
divorce.
in some cultures, you know, it didn't matter how many wives you had, but you were still responsible for all of those wives.
Yeah.
And all of those wives were responsible to you.
Yeah.
So every culture has that thing of being bound.
Yeah, Liberia today, a former U.S. colony
Right.
In Africa, has, polygamy.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad, I remember
most of Africa has polygamy.
Yeah, my oldest daughter, her fiance's coming down to ask my dad for hand in marriage, My dad knows they're coming. He goes out to clean the garage. And I won't say his name, I'll call him Bill. Bill comes out the garage. Sir, can I talk to you? My dad says, yeah, sure, go ahead. And he's busy sorting tools, we're not even looking at him. He says, so what do you want? And he's just busy. Well, I just want you to know I really love your daughter, and he's got him rattled. And he says, well, I'd like to ask for your permission to marry your daughter. He says, well, do you love her? Oh, yeah, I love her. And he's still working in the tools, not even looking at him. No, you didn't hear me. I asked, do you love her? Oh, yeah, I really love her. And he finally puts his grease rag down, turns around, and he says, no. What I want to know is, when you don't even love her anymore, you don't like her anymore, are you going to keep her? Because I ain't taking her back. And he's like rattled. And so then at the wedding, his dad comes to my dad and says, I got 4 daughters I know are going to get married soon, and I'm going to remember what you said to my son. That is awesome.
Yeah.
Because that's just it, commitment.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what happened to us. The pastor, he told us, he said, what's going to happen when, it reminds me of that Earth, Wind, and Fire song, After the Love Is Gone. And it is going to leave. Everything becomes common. It becomes commonplace. And now you got to deal with the realities of life. Like when she wakes up in a bad mood, you wake up in a bad mood. You come home after a bad day and you want comfort, but she's had a bad day and she's not there to give you that comfort. Oh, sorry, my dear, please come in, lay on my chest and just tell me about it while I stroke your hair. No, she may say, oh, yeah, you need to get out there and clean that garage, or you need to cut that grass, or you need to do that. And you just had a horrible day at work. You're worn out. And rather than coming home to comfort, you're having something else thrown. These are the realities of marriage. And it's here's the other thing. Divorce is so high today because back in the old days, you didn't work around somebody else's wife. You didn't work around single girls. If you were a farmer, you lived and worked on your farm and you went into town once a month, maybe, right? Everything else, life was around the farm. That's it.
Unless you're going to mass. That was once a week. Right.
Or your church service, whatever church service you went to, you might once a week, but then you go back home and you stay at home. So it was this closed system around your family, you, the wife, the kids. As society developed now, especially in cities, it's so easy. You go to work and the girls going to work are dressing up every day, putting makeup on and
on the prowl.
Well, yeah, either on the prowl or not, but you had a bad evening or morning with your wife. She's had a bad evening there, and she looks up to you because she respects you for this or that. Next thing you know, sparks start flying, and boom, there you go. So these are the things the challenges that men and women face today that they didn't face 100, 200 years ago.
Yeah. Well, it's still on the books in Oklahoma. It is a felony to commit an act of adultery, punishable by up to 5 years in prison.
Oh.
Still on the books.
Although it's never.
No, you can't get the legislature to follow that law.
Right.
Yeah, we're thinking of certain people. But this is the problem is it's the decadent Western culture.
Yeah.
It didn't used to be that way.
And we want to look down on cultures where they have polygamous marriage, where the husband can take more than one. I remember in Uganda.
There's no biblical command against it.
Right. And I remember being in Uganda and we would separate the people that came forward. Mm-hmm. The guys would take the guys and the girls would take the mm-hmm. girls. And then our girls would come back, just in tears and just broken down about mm-hmm. how horrible it is. We've never had to deal with it. It just boggles our mind, these situations. Like you have one that comes and she's the third out of 5 wives, mm-hmm. but she's the only Christian. Mm-hmm. She married a Muslim. The husband's mm-hmm. a Muslim because her parents gave her to this guy because he had some money and would take care of him. Sure. And she, out of all of the 5 wives, she's the only one that can't bear children. Mm. And so the husband loves her and likes her and all that, but she can't bear children. So she's looked down upon by the other wives because they gave him children and all this. And these are things that these European and American girls or women are having to try to counsel somebody on when they've never had to deal with something like this. It just shows that you think you've got problems. Put yourself in that problem, and that issue. And the girl, loves her husband, wants to be the wife of this guy, mm-hmm. but because of what she has to deal with, stuff that we can't even imagine, mm-hmm. That, and yet we take it so lightly. We take our institute of marriage so lightly that we'll throw it away for the slightest. Yeah. Not everybody. Listen, I know there probably the majority of people watching this program are still married and faithful and have all. But these are real issues and real things that we have to deal with in our society. Mm-hmm. And you need to be the hope for these, and especially to teach your children.
Do you remember Wayne's World?
Yeah, I never watched that. I just thought it was stupid. But
this is the movie guy, and he hasn't seen one of the best comedy movies.
I have taste.
Oh, come on. No, I tell you what, because he plays, these couple of teenagers in, rural, suburban Chicago and that. But they talk about this, formula they have, how crazy a chick is versus how hot a chick is. And you can put up with craziness if she's got a commensurate hotness,
It's a whole formula.
Yeah. But here's the thing.
Oh, man.
Here's the thing I'm getting at. And a psychiatrist I talked to, was pretty open about this. He says, the benefits to a person, to an adult, that they get from sexual activities, satisfied sexual activity, to their mental health, emotional health, huge, and physical health. And, when you take that knowledge base coming from the sciences and you say, put that in the context of, you got one shot at marriage, because that's the Catholic teaching. Mm-hmm. You got one shot. What you're giving up by putting away a spouse, you're giving up something that could be very, make a big impact on your overall mental, physical, health, your psychological health, because it does play a big role. The comfort we give one to another in that intimate setting can play a massive role in that person's life. What was that movie featured the Frank Underwood character about Capitol Hill? Remember Netflix series? It's famous about Frank Underwood eventually becomes president. Why can't I think of it?
Yeah, was it Kevin Spacey, the one?
Yes, Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, I don't remember the name, but I know what you're talking about.
But there was a kind of a discrete scene where he's just so devastated. He's completely a broken man. And his wife, I mean, he just collapses on the floor of their home. And she comes and comforts him. And eventually it turns into what they suggest, kind of as the light fades, is a sexual activity. And then the rebound he has, because what it did for him,
built him back up.
For her taking initiative. That just gives you the idea of the role it plays in our overall well-being. Not to mention physical, not to mention just the contentedness of it. So I'm just saying that's the world that our grandparents grew up in. You give up that woman, you're giving all of that other stuff up. And, now it's kind of turned into free love and nobody gets prosecuted for adultery, even though it's a felony, So.
Yeah, we're in a different time. And, it's, the example for young people today is not a good one. Generally and I think one of the real keys to the decay of the family in America has been television and movies.
It shapes culture.
Right. Because, we see people that are unhappy, they get a divorce and then they find this person and they're happy, and this and that. When the odds of your second marriage being better than the first one or the second one or the third one is not necessarily, those odds are not good. So the thing to do is to take time and find out if the person you're originally going to marry is the one it will end up being the only person you marry in your lifetime. Yeah. So that's just it. And like I said, even before I was a Christian, I remember, I don't know why, I remember clearly in my head hearing about divorces and this and saying to myself, I'm only doing this once. Mm-hmm. If I fail at this, I will never get married. I'm not going to be one of these people that has marriage. I'm only doing this once. And I think my parents were a good example because, everything they went through and stayed together. And it's interesting because of all of my parents' friends from back in the 50s, all the way into the early 2000s when they started passing away, mm-hmm. None of them got divorced. Mm-hmm. That whole generation of people never, and they were all military people. Where you would think, these guys are over here and they can fool around or this or this or this. Didn't happen. They remain.
The military has their own culture, and I have to say it's better than the civilian culture of the West.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe, but these guys never. They were all these couples were still till death, and I even have one. I use this all the time as an example. In fact, I was arguing with on Facebook, which I do a lot. What constitutes a marriage? There was a guy, and his marriage didn't work out, his wife, but she refused to give him a divorce. Mm-hmm. So he ends up with this German woman, mm-hmm. and they end up living together, mm-hmm. but they could never get married because his original wife would never divorce him. Mm-hmm. So he was basically living in adultery by legal sense.
To the state, yeah.
For 60 years mm-hmm. with this other woman. Mm-hmm. So it reminds me of the parable of the good son, which was the true marriage. Mm-hmm. The one where, for whatever reason, it didn't work out, or the one that he stayed with for 60 years of fidelity.
Completely with you on that, Eddie.
So we can make these, and it really reshaped my whole thinking. Of course, my wife and my daughter think I'm nuts, but because I don't feel that a ceremony is necessary.
Yeah.
And in today's world, you can get all of the benefits legally, contractually. You can do paperwork on a succession of the estate, whatever, just write down, if I die, my wife gets this, and, and then from there it goes on down the line, right? So everything that a legal contract of marriage can give you, you can do today contractually, legally.
Absolutely.
And so, so the wedding thing, although the ceremony is about witnesses, you have these bear witness to the marriage, but if you call yourself as married and conduct yourself as married, then me, you're married.
That's what we called common law marriage.
Right.
And the state used to recognize it.
Right.
About 15 years ago, State Rep Lee Denny had that done away with. And I argue T.W. Shannon, which I hope we have him in here soon.
Yeah.
When he first became speaker, he and I talked for a little bit about that. I said, you got to get rid of the marriage license and replace it with a certificate. I started out saying the state has to quit claiming the authority to give permission to get married.
Yeah.
And we're standing in the Secretary of State's office. He says, state doesn't give permission, I said, it's called a license. What is a license? It's permission from the state to do that which is otherwise forbidden.
It's like your concealed carry.
Yeah. And I said, do it like when a child's born. They don't get a license to be born. They get a certificate that they are born. A marriage needs a certificate to validate, just like you register your car and your home to protect it, right? So I said, Todd Russ, who's right now our state treasurer, had this bill, and it was when gays were suing preachers for refusing to perform a gay wedding.
Right.
He just wanted the law changed to where a couple didn't need an officiant. The two of them go down to the court clerk at their county and both sign an affidavit and walk out married. If they wanted to take it with and have a third signature, that was an optional thing. And I like the idea between separating out your obligations to the state versus your obligations to your faith.
So you're saying you could do either. You could get married in the church or you could get married by the state.
Right.
Okay.
And
just wanted to clarify that.
It's very important for us to distinguish the two as two separate things. Married in the eyes of God is something much like you and I have talked about Isaac and Rebekah. Okay? The servant gets her from Laban's family, I think it was, and brings her. He helps her get off the camel. They go to his mom's tent. His mom had passed away, but the tent was still setting up. That was the honeymoon suite. They went and did it, and they were married.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to it than that.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I agree. And historically, way back, BC, that's how things were done.
Yeah.
And in a lot of other. Now, if you want to have a party and a celebration of the union, then great. That's extra. But as far as having to jump through the hoops of a license and this and that, it hasn't helped. Let's put it that way. It has not helped the marriage rate in America or Europe. Europe's probably as bad or worse than here in America. And, it's funny that your third world nations and Muslim nations have a greater marriage retention rate than we do here in our free society.
Yeah, Pat Campbell used to love having Rollo Tomasi on once a week.
Yeah.
And he's got a YouTube channel, and a woman, Pearl Davis, has a great YouTube channel. And they just show how the West was set up to screw over men in our culture and our laws. And Pearl says it doesn't make sense for a man to get married under this culture, under these laws, here. So unless your faith is driving you, that makes sense because that's faith driven. But he says the law is set up. And the thing is, Europe is about 10 years further down the road than us. That's why their marriage rate is so low. In fact, when Hubert Humphrey went to see Golda Meir, and she is newly prime minister of Israel, he talked about it. He said, you're outnumbered like 15-1 by these Muslim countries around you. You need a high birth rate. This is Hubert Humphrey walking her logically down. Said, what's preventing your young people from having kids? They aren't getting married. They're just shacking up. You need to change the policy so that the government gives more benefits to people who get married, right? Because that entices a situation where they're more likely to have kids. And it was just brilliant how Humphrey walked her through that. Because who's taking over America is the immigrants from countries where they have a dozen kids.
And see, this was the excuse that they don't talk about in Europe.
Yeah.
See, the birth rate in Germany, for example. Mm-hmm. Now, the survivability of a people, a race, or a country is 2.2 children. Okay.
Yeah, that's just to stay stagnant, right? That's
to stay, right. Mm-hmm. So, but the German rate had dropped to 1.6.
Yeah.
So it was a dying culture, a dying nation. So what they did to try to artificially pump up the numbers, they started bringing these immigrants in because they were going to be the future workers that would sustain society and pay into their social security system and keep the nation afloat. But it was, as we say, stinking thinking. It was just stupid because the people you're bringing in are replacing your culture.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening in America, that the Democrats want to bring in all of these people to be workers and sustain our civilization, but at the cost of our civilization.
Well, they're inviting Attila the Hun to come and invade and take over Europe.
But see, they think they're so smart that some kind of way, well, we'll figure it out down the line. Right now, we need people to work to pay into our system, and then it's going to sustain the system, and we're a melting pot or smelting pot, and eventually they will convert to the American way. No, that isn't happening.
But it's not just there. Chamber of Commerce in the United States has the same thinking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I know. But that's what I'm saying. But that's probably where a lot of this comes from.
Sure.
And it's a circular reasoning.
Why do you think all the corporate heads are supporting globalism in America? I mean, Hillary had all of Wall Street behind her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But it's faulty thinking, and it can't work.
But you know what? Obama was right when he talked about civil unions. Now, he abandoned that policy and went full-fledged gay rights.
Right.
But you're right. Anybody can form a contractual agreement, a civil union. Remember, from the Bible, Jonathan and David had the same, they called it a blood covenant then. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they were gay, but David honored it even after Jonathan was dead. Methuselah became part of David's household. And go ahead.
No, I'm just saying our chip is running out of room.
Yeah, but that's just a backup song. We're good here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hey, I got a Trump statement I really want to read to you, to the Iranian people. Can I read it?
Oh, yeah.
One paragraph.
Please, this is good.
Donald Trump addressed the Iranian people. He says, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. When we are finished, it's talking about the bombings at the strategic day. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will probably be your only chance for generations, for many years. You have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do so, but I am willing to. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. Was that to the point?
Yeah, but there's one I don't know if it's problem or there's one factor that's not being addressed.
Okay.
Who fills the void? Who is that leader who's going to step into the role? Is there that person? Like in Venezuela, you had a list of people that they felt could step into the role once you got rid of Maduro. Who is the person in Iran that is going to step in and take that role?
I think the culture has to produce it.
No, I know, but it would be good to have that person from the culture already at hand, because once you leave that void, someone has to be in charge. Someone has to be in charge to have an organized society and to reshape the...
Okay, let's take the Revolutionary War. What happened? We called for a Continental Congress, and each of the territories, colonies, sent delegates.
Right, but we did it before the war. That's what led to the war.
You're right, and it was considered seditious.
Right. Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, but what I'm saying is, so who do we have in Iran that corresponds?
If they are smart, they kept it secret, and you and I don't know what all's going on.
Yeah, no. Now that if that is the case, good.
Yeah.
You know, like in Venezuela, right? We got rid of Maduro. Mm-hmm. But then there's the vice president, who's a woman. Mm-hmm. She now is there, and you know, we had to negotiate with her. Is she going to play ball with us, or do we get rid of her too? So at least they had the structure, somebody willing to step in and realize that there's this sword hanging over her head to play ball and to do things right.
Yeah, that was seen, I think, to be in the U.S. interest to have some structure.
Stability. Right?
Yeah.
Stability. Right.
You know, because keep in mind, they have potential to be a major source of energy.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Well, sure.
Now, here's the thing I'm most concerned about in all this is, what does China do? Because you know where China gets their oil? From Iran.
Right.
And now, I mean, I'm just wondering.
Well, they can still get it from Iran, and they can get it from us. They can get it from
do you
Saudi
think they're
Arabia.
Feeling more secure or less secure right now? China.
Yeah, but, well, in other words, we're not cutting off all of their oil supply, but we're cutting off the way, not just China, Russia too. Russia is even more tied to Iran than China is. So,
well, yeah, but Russia's an oil producer. China's not. They are a major consumer.
Yeah, that's true. But the Russian oil apparently is not very good oil, and who knows how much of it there is. You know, that's why they keep trying to take over in the North Atlantic and different places.
Yeah, Russia's more of a natural gas producer.
Right.
So, by the way, they're looking at this will be a 2 to 4 week operation.
Oh, really?
Military.
Wow.
Yeah, but they're saying no boots on the ground, at least not that
US
we
boots.
know of.
Right.
Are there spies? Are there intelligence? Oh, God,
well, there must be spies if they were able to. Now, Fox News is reporting that they're not sure if they really got Khomeini. So did they get him? Well, his fate remains unknown.
Okay, Netanyahu just said there are growing signs that Ayatollah Khomeini has been killed. That's coming from Netanyahu. Okay. Now, he's not saying he's sure. He says there's growing signs.
Right.
So he's still trying to find out. But, you know, you can watch the behavior on the street, and people are out on the street in Tehran celebrating.
Yeah. And here domestically, the FBI elevates nationwide alert as tensions escalate following the strikes in Iran. So if they have sleeper cells here that try to wreak havoc here in America, that's something we have to be aware of. And so, activists mobilized against Iran war 10 minutes before Trump even announced the war. So you already had activists in the streets who felt this was coming.
As soon as they see the bombs.
No, they said before. This is 10 minutes before.
Trump. Before Trump announced. And Trump would not have announced until the bombs hit.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, that could be. Well, then how did they know? I mean, how did they know?
How long does it take you to hear the bomb and go out in the street?
No. This is in America.
Oh.
This is in America. The activists are out in the streets protesting against us bombing 10 minutes before we actually bomb. Yeah.
This is just insane.
It is. Hey, we better wrap it up, though,
yeah,
Dave.
I had
a few closing thoughts.
Yeah. Let's see. We said that about Netanyahu's already spoken. Growing signs. I think your point about terrorism in the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
the United States government, they're either legitimately concerned or the Iranians were a convenient fall guy. Because remember when Trump got shot in Butler,
mm-hmm.
in that right away, there was this narrative out there that this could be Iranians, and they're just constantly putting that out there. I'm questioning our intelligence agency under Biden, whether or not they were telling us the truth. They may have just been making Iran to be the fall guy for covering for some dark forces within our, shadow,
right?
Deep state. All right. That's all I have on the war. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, good news sports. I'll be just really quick. This week's rankings, 3 of the top 5 in basketball, men's basketball, Big 12.
Arizona. Is Kansas
Arizona
back in the.
No, they're not.
Oh, okay.
No, Houston, Arizona, and Iowa State.
Okay.
So.
Tech they were the first ones to beat Arizona this year.
Yes.
A couple of weeks ago, but then they mess around and lose the next 2 or something. So it's just crazy.
Tech's still in the top 25. I think we got 6 teams from the Big 12 in the top 25. SEC is looking horrible. I think they got 1 in the top 16. It's just the Big Ten is still decent. Michigan, they're good.
And the ACC, of course.
Yeah.
Duke, North Carolina.
Yeah, and really, some of the Big East,
right.
St. John's and UConn and so there's those basketball, the Catholic schools, you know what I'm saying? So,
we ran out.
All right.
We're finished on this one. You say you got
I'm still good here.
Okay. Hey, everybody. God bless. Have a great week. And we will hopefully talk to you and see you next week.